this great city. We're grateful for those that defend this land and this city, and we ask that you'll bless them, especially those that are in harm's way, that they may have thy protection and thy strength, and for their families as they're away from them, that they may be strengthened. We ask thee at this time also to bless the citizenry of this city, that they might be mindful of the needs of their neighbors and tend to them. We ask thee also at this time that thou wilt, those that are beyond the help of their neighbors, that thou wilt extend thy mighty hand to them and offer them comfort and peace and strength in this time. Father, for this meeting we ask thee that thou wilt bless those that offer up their petitions, that their tongues might be loosed, that they might be able to articulate well the petitions and plans that they bring forward. We are grateful for the service of the people on this commission and those that support them. May they and their families be blessed. We ask them thee at this time that thou wilt bless them this evening with thy spirit and a discerning spirit, that they will be able to plan and plan well for the futurity of this city. We ask thee at this time that thou wilt bless all that are here in attendance, that as they return home, that they may find things well there as they return, and return home in safety. And for these blessings we ask in the name of thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you.
Face the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have the roll call, please?
Commissioners Randy Hall,
Here.
Cassandra Harvey,
Here.
Raj Mali,
Here.
Fabian Tarashano,
Here.
Chairman James Vose,
Here.
Commissioner Alex Wheeler, absent. Vice Chairman Dan Jacobs, absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Yeah, I heard from Vice Chairman Jacobs today, as well as Commissioner Wheeler, and unfortunately they had short notice commitments that required them to be in attendance at business meetings this evening. So, public business from the floor. If an individual is unable to stay through the entire meeting due to extenuating circumstances, a total of 10 minutes is provided at this time, which input may be given regarding any agenda items. Individual speakers would be limited to 2 minutes each. If we have any early speakers, Mr. Ludicky?
None that have indicated, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Then any person who would like to address the Planning Commission on any agendized item is requested to complete a speaker's card for the recording secretary and identify the agenda item you'd like to discuss. Each person will be given an opportunity to address the Planning Commission at the time such item is discussed by the Commission. Speaker's cards are available at the rear of the chamber as well as here at the front on your right, adjacent to Mr. Adams. Individual speakers will then be limited to 3 minutes each. The first item is our consent calendar, which is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 20th, 2010. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the minutes from the meeting of December 20th, 2010.
Thank you.
Second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. The next item, the next items are new public hearings. The first item is conditional use permit number 10-27, which is a request for a conditional use permit for a private university in a school zone. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this matter. Do we have speakers?
Mr. Chairman, I have a speaker's card, but the person has not identified any specific item. I don't know whether they wish to address one of the two agendized items or it is a public business from the floor issue.
I'm here for the university.
Okay, then we do have a speaker on this.
All right,
item.
then, may we have a staff report then, please?
Chairman Vos and Commissioners, the Lancaster School District has an agreement with the City of Lancaster to lease portions of the existing Parkview Middle School site to Antelope Valley University, and they are looking at leasing 45 classrooms, the multi-purpose room, the cafeteria, the gymnasium, the men and women's locker rooms, and possibly the softball field, library, and office space for the next 5 years. The reason that we have a conditional use permit is our municipal code section 17.20130 requires a conditional use permit in a school zone for a private university. Access would be provided from Fig Avenue on the east and Hardwood on the west, and the applicant has indicated the university would operate Sunday through Saturday from 8 to 10. They would have 2 sessions. The session 1 would run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and session 2 from 4 to 9 p.m. Each session would have approximately 150 students during the week and 60 students on the weekends. And sufficient parking exists on the site. There's approximately 160 spaces on both sides, but there's in the gray area where it says play courts, that has also been made into a parking area, and so we don't see shouldn't be any issues with parking on the site. So therefore, staff is recommending approval of the University of Antelope Valley based on the site having sufficient parking, adequate access, hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Saturday, which would be compatible with the existing neighborhood. That concludes my report. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Members have any questions? Apparently not. May we hear from the speaker then, please?
Yes, Maureen Feller.
Was it Fellers?
Feller.
Feller.
Bob Feller?
Oh, very good. Thank you and welcome.
Hi. This is my neighborhood. And you guys have called this meeting 8 months after you've brought this school in. My first question would be why? Why wasn't the community brought in on this when they first took possession of the school? You have moved out 1,100 plus kids that now have to travel up to 6 miles away for school. We have found quite a bit of money to help private schools in this area, a $5 million park. We've given quite a bit of money to West Coast Baptist College in both land and infrastructure. And this is not a university. This is a trade school that charges $13,000 for a 7-month certification, which is not transferable, by the way. I do believe only some of their medical classes are accredited. I just let you guys know it's $11,500 for a year at UCLA. So what we're doing is we are now giving public schools to private enterprises. Right now you're saying 100 to 150 kids, but that's what they've got in there right now. You're talking about a 5-year lease, but in reality, per our AV press, we're talking a 15-year lease. The parents that had children at this school were told that there would be no layoffs, that this was a temporary closure until the economy picked up, and that buses would be provided to the children going to Armagosa and Endeavor. I do believe there's been 24 layoffs. Buses have only been supplied to the children going to Endeavor, not to Armagosa. Those children are now walking to and from school. And we're now looking at a 15-year, which is not temporary. All we have in my community are rumors. We heard the rumor they were moving in 8 months ago. And they did. And now you call a meeting 8 months after the fact. We now hear a rumor that they would like to build a sports complex. There's also, through the Freedom of Information Act, the Parkview Relocation Plan, Phase 1 for Beach, where we're talking about destroying low-incoming houses to build low-incoming houses. The rumors also got it that those will be given for housing for this university. We would really love to know what Phase 2 and Phase 3 is before the bulldozers pull up in our front yard, instead of 8 months after the fact. I think you guys have done a great disservice to the children in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Feller. Go ahead, speakers.
I have no other speakers, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do you have any comments, Mr. Ludicky?
I think it might be helpful. Mr. Steve Goki from the Lancaster Redevelopment Agency is present. I think it would be worthwhile for him to describe the process that this entire agreement has gone through, and I think that would be helpful to understand. There are a couple of other issues that she touched on that I'd be more than happy to help to try to address also after he's done.
All right, just to be clear, the Economic Development Agency of the city is the applicant on behalf of the University of Antelope Valley. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Mr. Goki?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. The Economic Department of the city basically facilitated immediate reuse of the site so that it wouldn't stay unused, because it seemed like the plan for the district, at least for the next several years, was to not be able to use the front portion of the campus. They do continue to run a school in the back portion. So the intent of the agency was to basically facilitate immediate reuse so that it wouldn't be vandalized and there'd be some presence there. Some of the issues that Mrs. Feller's brought up are district issues, and those were not issues that were taken under the redevelopment agency's process. Once the district decided to close the school, the idea was to facilitate immediate reuse, which does meet redevelopment types of intentions, which is to keep the place vibrant and utilized in some sense, at least on a temporary basis. There are some issues with the lease for potential extensions of the lease, but that's strictly up to the school district. The basic lease is 5 years. They anticipated not reusing for at least 5 years based on issues with their current enrollment and declining enrollment and those kinds of issues. So other issues with respect to the Parkview Beach Street, those kinds of things, I'm not familiar with those. But our intention was immediate reuse, which we felt on a limited basis and on a temporary basis would be beneficial to everybody, so that we didn't have a blighted facility there. Thank you.
Maybe a question, Dr. Goki, or two, if you don't mind. So this matter has been before the City Council previously in the last 2 or 3 months, and the lease between the school district, Lancaster School District, and the City of Lancaster was agreed to.
Yes, City
The matter
Council.
before us this evening is a land use matter relative to the requirements of the city ordinances, right?
Right. So the city agreed to the concept of facilitating the lease with the assignment of the lease to University of Antelope Valley. And then part of the issue was, since it's not a public school use, brought in the need for the conditional use permit. So
Right.
we've gone through that process, and
But the matter of the financial commitments and agreements relative to the school district and the city have been resolved,
yes,
heard in public, voted
Right.
on.
correct. Yeah, that was action taken under a normal public council meeting. Yeah.
Right.
But some of the other issues that Mrs. Fillers mentioned are not part of that. That's district-related decision-making and those kinds of things,
I
which were
appreciate
done
that.
prior to that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a-
Any, Mr. Hall,
There
I have a
was,
question for you, Dr.
Yes,
Goki.
Dr. Goki. The speaker brought up that we would be giving a public school to private business, kind of her word. And then a 5-year lease. Now, I assume that they're paying for it, so we're not giving.
No, they're paying, yeah, it's lease income for the school district.
It's lease income, okay. And I'm kind of wanting to follow up on what she said about 8 months prior. She said
Well, the original lease agreement was done prior to the CUP. Subsequent to the lease agreement with the school district and helping facilitate that was the issue that, since it's not public use, that the requirements of the Planning Commission are that we go through a CUP process. So we started that, and here we are now. So, and that's mainly to look at the issues. The real significant difference in the language is the fact that this is a private entity. It just so happens that private entities have been renting portions of that campus for 30 years, but not to this volume. So this is a little different. And I think it warrants, that kind of discussion, because we're talking 150 to 300 students over the course of a day now, and in the past, it's generally been maybe 4 or 5 classes that we're using the campus at night. So it's a little bigger use, and I think that's what promoted the issue with the CUP.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good, thank you. Did you have anything to add, Mr. Lutke?
A couple of things to add to issues or questions she had raised. Although it's not specifically related to this case, she had mentioned the issue of the housing and community or housing and revitalization department's portion of the redevelopment agency acquiring housing along Beach. It has been in the process of doing that as part of its effort to deal with blighted conditions on some of those properties. The only demolition plans, if any exist, are on sites that have actually been legally acquired as part of that. The relocation plan that she referenced is a requirement any time that a redevelopment agency takes action to demolish existing housing, and part of that relocation plan is to indicate how they intend to rehouse individuals which may be displaced as a part of any action that would happen along there. The issue on the sports complex, she did raise that question also. The University of the Antelope Valley has indicated some desire to use the site for softball field. I'm not certain that that's ultimately what they will do. That was a thing that they were thinking about. The arena that has been talked about and discussed, I believe, also in the local media, would not be on this site. They have determined that that would not be an appropriate use on this particular location. So I wanted to address those issues also.
The issues of housing are a matter that come before the City Council, not the Planning Commission. Is that correct?
The only way that a housing issue of the type that she would describe would come before you is if there were some kind of a revised development plan for those sites that warranted, under the zoning code, the review by the Planning Commission.
Change in land use or
Correct.
density issue that,
Yes.
which are typically properly noticed and
Yes.
advertised well in advance. Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Any more speakers on this matter?
I have no other cards, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then it would be appropriate to close the public hearing without objection and consider a motion.
Yes, I move that we adopt resolution number 11-01 approving conditional use permit number 10-27.
Second.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Please vote.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. The next public hearing, new public hearing, is regarding tentative tract map number 69992. And so without objection, the public hearing is open on this. This is a subdivision of 8 single-family lots in semi-rural residential zone. And we have received a letter indicating no objections, an uncontested letter, although I don't have it in front of me. At least it's on the agenda that we received it, is it? That's why Mr. Powell is here, and whipped this out immediately, huh? All right, then. Do we have any speakers on this?
I have no speakers cards on this item, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if there's anyone in the audience who wants to speak on it.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak on it? You're welcome to, Mr. Powell, and good evening. Long time no see.
Yes. I'm Bob Powell with CCL Engineering. We've reviewed the conditions staff has put together and are in agreement with those. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone? All right, then. So then it would be appropriate to close the public hearing without objection and consider a motion on this matter.
I move that we adopt resolution number 11-02 approving tentative map, track map number 69992.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All right, any further questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That concludes our action items on the agenda. Director's announcements.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, I wanted to remind you and call to your attention that we have several events that are occurring this week in regards and in conjunction with the preparation of the master plan of trails for the city. The first, Thursday morning, which involves essentially a joint study session between the City Council and the various commissions that the city has, is a study session on walkability, pedestrian safety, alternative transportation options, and how this all ties into the issue of livable communities. On Friday, there is, beginning at 1:30, with a press conference and event, the first of 3 walk audits that the city is doing. That one happens to be occurring in the vicinity of Antelope Valley College. The meeting place is actually the boardroom of Antelope Valley College at 1:30. The second walk audit is Saturday morning, the 29th at 9 a.m. The meeting place is the Antelope Valley Partners for Health facility, which is on 10th Street West, just a little bit north of Jackman. And on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., on the east side at the First Christian Church of the Antelope Valley, which is 1702 East Avenue J, will be the third walk audit. The walk audits are going to be conducted by Ryan Snyder, who is actually our consultant for the Master Plan of Trails effort, and a gentleman named Dan Burden, who is a very internationally renowned expert on walkability and how to make cities more pedestrian friendly. I've heard him described as the Johnny Appleseed of hiking and walking and that kind of livability side. So I would encourage you, if at all possible, to attend these particular events. I believe you have all been sent information on that. I know several of you have some conflicts, but I think this is a really exciting part of the overall effort that the city is undertaking. And as I've told a number of people, I honestly believe that the Master Plan for Trails effort promises to be a very transforming thing for the city overall, much more so even than I think the downtown effort, which, as we all know, has brought about quite a bit of change in the central core already. So I appreciate any kind of participation and would encourage once again your attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Ludicky.
Oh, one other thing. The walk audits are open to the public, so the public is invited to come and be a part of that also.
Very good. Thank you. The commission agenda, anyone have anything they'd like to bring up? No? All right, then. Now is the time for public business from the floor on non-agendized items. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the commission on any subject regarding city business. Under state legislation, no action can be taken on non-agenda items. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing the commission regarding items not specifically referenced on the agenda. And please complete a speaker's card for the recording secretary. Individual speakers would be limited to 3 minutes each. Do we have any non-agendized item speakers?
We have no cards, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, then. Therefore, we stand adjourned until Monday, February 14th at 5:30 p.m. in the Planning Large Conference Room here at City Hall. Thank you.